Okay. See if I can get this light right. The sun's setting and it's kind of like blurring it up a little. Well, that's not what. That's about as good as it's gonna get, I think. Um, Godfather Harlem, season one, episode 7, I believe. So, uh, miles better than the last episode, I have to say. But I guess the last episode wasn't doing anything but planting seeds. Um, so this episode we've got main character Bumpy, his daughter. Well, yeah, his daughter comes back into the picture. We've got some stuff going on with the Lovebirds. We've got two mob bosses being pushed into war, but it was inevitable if the information ever came to light. Also, we've got Malcolm X character dealing with the congressman slash reverend being both, of course, both being shunned from this upcoming Million Man March. So I guess I could talk about the Million Man March first. My information on that is pretty limited. Don't don't uh, don't anybody come and decline my not decline. Don't nobody come and take away my black card for that. But yeah, my information on that is pretty limited. But this congressman slash reverend, I'll have to check and see if he's an actual person or he's just a character that adds to the series as a total. I'm not 100% on that. Now I know Malcolm X was an actual person, and for his at least at this time period, his thoughts were so. The thing is, you've got two different sides or two different beliefs on this spectrum here. One is, we're going to fight for our rights and freedoms, and the other side is nonviolence. Is that's the two different sides that you're dealing with here. And of course, I guess Martin Luther King was the one championing the nonviolence, and Malcolm X was at this time was the one advocating for not just wanting and I'm sorry, not just random violence, but acts of self defense. I guess. Well, yeah, most definitely acts of self defense. Um, had to get that phrase out. Acts of self defense. So of course they're shunned from this upcoming march, and it's interesting to bring it up because the this should I call him the Reverend or the Congressman? I was calling him Reverend. The Reverend, he silver tongued devil if I've ever seen one, right? He comes in to work with Malcolm to, I guess, do spread their message because, well, the only reason he's doing it is because he got snuffed out of that march for reasons of him. He's going to war with a lady who's suspected of like delivering money or product. I'm sweating pretty good. Delivering money or product to and for the mafia. He calls her out, says you shouldn't be doing that anyway. Uh, so whatever, that thing's kind of minor. Now, what was I talking about? I guess the two mob bosses will go next. So these two guys don't necessarily like each other. Um, so in the last episode, I believe I went on a little bit of a rant, if anything, about this mob boss, the character who's obsessed with his daughter and not wanting her to really date. Comes to find out anybody because there was an incident that happened earlier on in these characters' lives where one mob boss's son was alone with the other mob boss's daughter, and things escalated, and the ages were not gelling, in my opinion. One, the boy was 17, the girl was 13. So that already is foul enough. So I guess the Chin is his name. This mob boss is going to war with the main character, Bumpy, finds out about this interaction between these two kids and takes care of the son. But that son is the son of another mob boss. He's been able to hide it for I don't know how many years, putting it on black individuals, of course. Now that that's the case, Bumpy does a little bit of investigation work and finds out the truth about the situation, and then it's going to be very, very. It's going to help his case so much if he can present this to this guy, and of course he needs to be actual and factual, and he has this mob boss's daughter to corroborate his story that he's spinning. So that's all it needed to start, and that's how the end of the episode was. I mean, it's full on war between these two mob bosses, and Bumpy winds up getting shot. I don't believe not necessarily connected to the that violence, but he winds up getting shot in with a reunion with his daughter. Now, it was done in a way I think it was done in a pretty classy way. So they're sitting there, and the younger kid. It's going to get complicated if I try to explain it, but there's a younger child involved who's been under the care of Bumpy and his wife, but that child is a child of his child. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that. All right. Of course, she's inquisitive and asking questions, and at this moment for her Bumpy's daughter to spill the beans and be like, "I'm your mother, they're not your parents," blah 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 blah. But she takes an interesting choice. I mean, her life isn't necessarily on the path, on the right path, I'm assuming. So she can't take care of her kid either. So she's like, "Hey, I am your big sister." And it's a moment of, it's a joyous moment. And Bumpy sticks out this, I guess it symbolizes an olive branch of peace or something, a touch from his daughter. But in that moment, he's shot down in the street. That's a great end to an episode, a heck of a cliffhanger, if you will, because you wanted to see if he survived. Of course, there's no way they're going to kill off the main character. But anyway, so what else was I talking about? Two mob bosses. Oh, I guess I talk about the lovebirds. So, because sometimes I forget that quick. I can forget that quick. But anyway, the lovebirds. So they're going all around town, like trying to make deals in order just to stay afloat in this situation. She's trying to stay away from her father, but all the while her father's finally taking the advice of the priest, who happens to be his brother, if I'm not mistaken, and to let her be. In doing so, everything that they've done, all these lies that they've tried and spread, is for nothing. You risk your life for nothing in this situation. But her boyfriend, the little musician, he's got a piece of his own. Now, there's this guy who's been hunting him for who knows how many episodes. He finally confronts him and puts his revolver in his face. It's like, "Hey, man," he's telling him this, telling him that, and they're both trying to jerk out an emotional response, and it's all over this young lady. You call that whatever you want to call it. So he winds up. It looks like he winds up breaking his nose with the revolver when he pistol whip him. But then the next scene, you see the guy's nose is fine. So, of course, TV magic there. But yeah, he goes back to his boss and he tries to warn him because the magician kid kind of spills the beans before they are spilt, about Bumpy's interaction or his role in this impending war. But I guess his boss isn't really trying to hear anything. It's like, it doesn't matter. I don't really care. Whatever. It's odd too that he plays crazy in order to get out of testifying on a grand jury or something like that. But he is exhibiting a lot of crazy traits. But it's smart on his part. I feel like, yeah, do whatever you can to get out of that situation. And of course, I guess the one good thing, if that can be considered a good thing out of this situation, is Bumpy is being supplied with, they call it doogie. I grew up, well, at least, not necessarily grew up, but what I heard it called was dog food. It's just heroin. Because I think I went over this in probably one of the earlier videos I did about this series. Give you a brief timeline of drugs that had a stranglehold or a vice that crippled the black community. It had to have started with heroin, and then it moved to like cocaine for a brief period, and then it switched over to crack. And I think those were the two major ones that were just they just decimated the black community. But now there's a more, I guess, color rate doesn't matter, and in this case, it's heroin again, but in a different form of prescription painkillers and cough syrup and all this other jazz. I don't know, but that's what the country has and had been going through. Oh, and of course, you can't leave out meth, but I don't feel like meth has affected the black community as heroin and as the grandfather heroin and the son crack had on the black community. But anyway, if you like me, if you like me ranting and raving and having the sun in my background, check out some of my other videos. Of course, I'm doing the Godfather in Harlem. I'm doing the Mandalorian. I did the Mandalorian, which I don't like. Breaking Bad, The Americans. I've done Chernobyl. Go check those videos out, and I've also have a few movies up. And subscribe. Well, pretty pleased with the cherry on top.